Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm Strawberry Rhino, and in today's video I have 3 replays for you in the Jaguar 1, which is of course the Era 3 Premium Western Alliance tank destroyer that was only released a week ago, and with today's update there has already been a pretty substantial buff to the vehicle. It wasn't performing as well as Wargaming hoped, and yeah, probably nowhere near as good as the Dezful 1A1 So in today's video I have 3 gameplays for you to demonstrate what's changed about this vehicle, how it now plays, whether it's now overpowered like the Dezful is considered by many, or whether it sort of fits nicely into Era 3. And we're going to start off by telling you what has changed about the vehicle. Then I'm going to get stuck into my commander and equipment setup, and then we'll talk about the gameplays in the background. As you can see, the first one is here on Erlenberg in a standard battle. But what's changed about this vehicle? Well, there has been some improvements to the turret. You now have a fully traversable ATGM launcher, whereas previously it was only a 45 degree to the left and right. Now it is 180 degrees to left and right, so yeah, that 360 full rotation. You don't have the full gun depression over the sides. As you can see, the superstructure is bigger. You have good gun depression over the front and also over the rear of this vehicle, which is good as it does go backwards very fast indeed. What else has changed in terms of the turret, or the ATGM is what they mean by the turret? Well, the turret speed, or the ATGM launcher speed, was 32 degrees a second. It is now 40 degrees a second, and the view range has also been buffed up by 30 meters from 590 meters to 610. In terms of the hot tube launcher, which is the ATGM launcher for the Jaguar 1, we have just discussed, you can now fully traverse it 360 degrees. It's also been buffed in terms of its rate of fire. It's gone from 2.73 to 3.08 rounds a minute, which means that you now reload in 19.5 seconds as opposed to 22 seconds. And that means that you have a DPM now of 4,528, whereas before it was 4,013. So a pretty substantial buff to this tank destroyer, and it is much more flexible. I can tell you that straight off the bat with that 360 degree rotational ATGM hot tube launcher. You don't have to worry about sort of jousting with people like the Dezful. You can swing that ATGM launcher around, and as long as you are prepared for less gun depression over the front side to the left and right of this vehicle, then yeah, it's much more flexible and it does feel a lot easier to play just by that regard. And of course, with the DPM buff as well as the view range buff, a little bit more scouting opportunities, and also a really nice opportunity to put in some more damage because it already had better DPM than the Dezful 1A1 So this was the replacement vehicle if you missed out on the Dezful and you wanted something that was pretty similar to that tank destroyer. So in terms of what commander and equipment setup I run on the Jaguar 1, it's the same as my review of this vehicle, which I'll link at the end for you. In terms of my equipment, I run the advanced concealment, and I run the both pieces of the mobility equipment, the advanced powertrain and the traction system, because this is the major drawback to this vehicle. Apart from the limited ATGM traverse, which is now has been buffed and rectified to a 360 degree ATGM traverse speed, the major downside was the mobility, worse whole traverse and worse sort of power to weight compared to the Dezful 1A1 so I'll try to improve my concealment and my mobility there. And in terms of my commander skills, I run 6th Sense, Born Leader, Rapid Loading. I run Camouflage Expertise, Silent Driving, Muffled Shot and Green Thumb, getting the most out of that concealment. And in terms of the last 2 skills, Clutch, Braking and Off-Road Driving, to improve the mobility of this vehicle and improve what is the worst aspect of the Jaguar 1. So I've improved the concealment, improved the mobility. The view range has been naturally buffed anyway. I can now move the ATGM launcher 360 degrees, and yeah, it's a lot more flexible, as you can see from the gameplay in the background here on Erlenberg, where we have picked up 6.5k direct damage already in this replay. However, we have lost a hell of a lot of hit points, and even with the great concealment this tank destroyer has, especially with a similar setup to mine, you still take a lot more damage than you will in the Dezful. You're a lot easier to hit, your hull traverse isn't as good, and even though I'm using the mobility equipment, just the fact that you are a bigger vehicle and more of a silhouette on the battlefield means that you're easily spotted with the True Vision system, and when you get spotted close to enemies, main battle tanks can still outrun you, and yet they can ram you for a lot of damage. You don't have any armor, and you will take a lot of damage from high DPM guns that are in Era 3. So here we're trying to make a bit of a last stand here on Erlenberg, trying to defend the base as well as down this 9-0 line. Had a beautiful ammo rack on a tank there on the hill, and with the great module damage in the Jaguar 1's ATGM launcher, you can deal some very nasty ammo racks, lovely fires, and completely decimate crew. So we're now pulling back using the gun depression, the great gun depression that the Jaguar 1 has. If you're wondering what that is, it is 20 degrees gun elevation over the front and the rear, and over the sides I think it's more like sort of 10 degrees. I can't be certain on that, and gun elevation wise 18.5 degrees. And now we're gonna join up with our teammates, finish off that Object 292, and you can see when you're sort of coming over a ridgeline, going in for a kill, it's so much easier with this 360 degree ATGM launcher traverse. It just means you're so much more flexible, and you can try and circle more opponents rather than sort of being more linear in your approach, which is what I had to sort of do at the start with this vehicle. Bit of a misplay there. Unfortunately, I popped the smoke in the wrong location, completely disorientate myself, and then I hit the barrel of our friendly teammate with the ATGM, which means that unfortunately I don't reload in time to get this AMX-32. I'm hiding behind this dead wreck, and unfortunately the killing blow on that AMX-32 just goes straight into the composite armor and gets absorbed. But a pretty decent first game here on Erlenberg. We finished with 4 kills, 11.7k direct damage, and 762 assistance. Top of our team, however, it is a defeat and a very nice profit with or about a premium account, making a lot more silver because I'm just having so much better games now with this buff. So that's it for the first game there on Erlenberg. I'm now going to head on into the second one, so I'll catch you over there in just a second. So we are now into the second gameplay of today's video, and we are here on Dezful in the Jaguar 1. It's a standard battle, and we're going to make our way as quickly as possible into the centre of the map, use the buffed view range to try and get some spots on tanks that are situated in the north of the map, making their way into position, and then we're going to try and use the buffed DPM to get as many ATGMs in this battle into the opposition as possible and chunk them down with the pretty nice DPM that this vehicle now has with the buffs. So in terms of my commander and equipment setup and what the stats look like with this vehicle now that I have applied my commander and equipment setup to the buffed stats of the Jaguar 1, now have a pretty impressive view range of 636 meters, which allows me to spot very, very well with the great concealment this tank has. That turret traverse is now 41.72 degrees a second with the ATGM launcher with my setup applied, meaning it's much more flexible, especially in close quarters combat situations when tanks are coming at you, especially things like other Jaguar 1s or Dezful's. It allows you to compensate for the slower ATGM speed with the Jaguar 1 with this 360 degree rotational hot tube launcher. And in terms of my reload and DPM, I've now got a 16.64 second reload for that whopping damage that you do with 1470, which means that if I hit and penetrate every single one of my ATGMs and I'm firing on reload, it's a 5,307 DPM on an ATGM only vehicle. So that's pretty impressive in my opinion, and yeah, it can be very deadly indeed. You can see we've picked up 2.8k direct damage and 718 assistance in the first couple of minutes of this battle, using our smoke screen to good effect there, trying to get out of harm's way, and we've also got a kill. We block this BMP3, and you can see the gun depression problems over the side of this vehicle now, So we go forward, allows us to use the 20 degrees of gun depression this tank destroyer has, and we wipe out that BMP3, taking our damage total to 5.3k damage. You don't really need to hit a lot of ATGMs to start racking up the damage in this vehicle, and it really is all about using those crossfire and flanking opportunities, using the concealment and mobility, getting up behind people, taking them out, relocating and not making it obvious where you will be. Try and keep moving where possible, use bushes, and watch my review of this vehicle. Similar playstyle, it's just a lot more flexible, and it allows you to come around, quickly swing that 360 degree hot tube launcher around, and we get a nice ATGM there into the side and rear of that enemy Jaguar 1. And now we're going to try and escape. We do take a shot there, and like I said in the first gameplay, as soon as you get lit up in this vehicle, you take damage, and you are a lot easier to spot than the Dezful. So you can't be as reckless as you would, or more as YOLO I should say, as you would in the Dezful 1A1 tow. You've got to think a little bit more with this vehicle, even with these buffs. It just rewards you a lot more now that it has been buffed. So we're up to 6.8k direct damage with the 2 kills and 1.2k assistance. Try to shake off anyone that might have been following me there, get undetected, and then we're re-stealthed and we can go in now, hopefully, and try and turn the tide of this battle, as it is pretty close here on Dezful. Just trying to think of my next move. I don't really want to get lit out in the middle of the map, as typically there will be loads of camping tanks down that zero line in sort of the G and H0 location. So we're going to come around here, maybe go around this central hill, and maybe advance on the zero line from a different location. Probably going to spot someone now to my left, so I'm going to try and make it as quickly as possible in front of me to this rock, so a bit of hard cover. But as you can see, you can now aim behind you as you're running away, because your hot tube launcher does move that 360 degrees round, which is so convenient, and with that great reverse speed, the same as the forward speed, a lot more flexible. And although I don't think it's as good as the Dezful still, in my opinion, it's a lot more fun than I had originally playing this vehicle. The nostalgia of the ATGMs can get a bit boring if this is all you play, but occasionally it can be fun. Just not very fun to play against, just like artillery in the World War II game mode. So we don't get a shot there into the tank in the centre. We now notice a couple of heavies on a tank destroyer making their way down into this central ravine. So we're going to get the high ground, pop over, get an ATGM, and with that 1470 damage, you can take out tanks that are on 1,000 or more hit points and know that you're almost always going to get a kill, which is a really nice feeling. And now we're going to make our way up this hill. Again, you can see that it is still pretty slow with its power to weight compared to the Dezful, and you do struggle compared to the main battle tanks as well, with the engine power and the top speed and your whole traverse. So don't think you can run rings around people like you will in the Dezful. You will get taken out very, very quickly indeed. We know there is a main battle tank up here, so we're just trying to find him. I get spotted, but I'm not going to go around this corner, because tanks like that Makava, who is sat at the back, will get shots onto me. So we're going to sit here. Hopefully my friendly Dezful is going to distract or get an ATGM into the side of this Challenger, I believe it is, and then hopefully we can pop round and finish if needs be. Our smoke screen will be wearing off now, so we do have to be a bit careful. Again, you can see there, poor gun depression over the sides. However, it's better than having no gun depression at all. And now we're just going to wait and see what this Challenger does. He is getting lit up the whole time. He knows he's getting flanked by 2 tank destroyers, so he has to come up, and that means that we can take him out for a beautiful damage roll there, above 1400. About average damage roll, but it allows us to take out that Challenger 2, and now it's only 1 tank in it, and we have some pretty dangerous tanks left on our team, including myself. So we're going to try and see if we cannot pick up a victory, the first victory in today's video. Going to be very hard to hit the ATGMs with the Jaguar 1 on things like the Dezful on the move, because the ATGM speed is relatively slow for Era 3 ATGMs. Completely bad aim there with that ATGM. which could come costly because we're now down by 3 tanks, so we're outnumbered 2 tanks to 1, but 240 meters a second with the standard ATGMs, and with the premium ATGMs 250 meters a second. You do have to watch out for that slow ATGM speed, so when you are coming round using that fully traversable hot tube launcher, make sure you give a little bit of extra lead than you would in something like the Dezful. Our friendly tank destroyer here going in on this heavy tank, so we're going to come and back him up, trying to support our tanks where possible now as we are outnumbered. Make sure we don't hit any of the destructible cover. We get a kill there, allowing us to keep our object 477A Molar in the game, and now we can get re-stealthed. We're in the cap. I was thinking about staying in the cap and trying to draw them to us, so we're going to find a bush we can sit in, and then we can cover this object 477A against this Macabre. When he comes round, I'm going to wait for the perfect opportunity so that I'm able to get an ATGM in. He is now stuck against that dead tank, so we can get an ATGM right into the upper hole. Ammo rack's right behind it. We ammo rack him, but yeah, we get taken out by Stevie Wonder somehow. I'm not sure how he was able to see, but yeah, he takes us out, and that is the sort of live by the sword, die by the sword attitude that you play when you play the Jaguar 1. And now it's just our friendly Dezful 1A1 toe left in this game, so we'll watch the rest of this game out. If you want to skip ahead to the post-game results, it'll probably be in about a minute from now. And of course there is one more game where hopefully we can pick up a victory, because it's not looking like it's going to be a victory in this game unless this Dezful 1A1 toe comes in clutch at the end of the game. And there's no better tank really than the Dezful or a Jaguar 1 with the concealment advantage that you have over the other tanks. You can see that this Dezful is so much harder to hit than the Jaguar 1, and it's still my preferred ATGM only vehicle. However, I'm sure there was mentioned in the stream a whole line of ATGM only vehicles coming out soon, so hopefully that will be an interesting line to play and not going to be completely flooding the Era 3 matchmaker with even more ATGM crazy vehicles. So this vehicle's doing very well to stay in the battle. He doesn't get taken out there with a ram because the Dezful of course weighs the same as each other, and unfortunately the autocannon, the 477A, is taken out the Dezful, which means it is a loss, but we still had a pretty nice result there in the Jaguar 1. We finish with 6 kills, 12.5k direct damage, 1,200 assistance. We get the mastery finally in this vehicle, high caliber ATGM medals as well, and we pick up a nice profit with or without a premium account of 257,000 or 416,000 silver. So a pretty nice battle there in 9 minutes and 24 seconds, unfortunately a defeat. So we're going to head on into the third and final battle of today's video, see what we can get up to. It's going to be on Westfield, so I'll catch you over there in just a tick. So then we are now on Westfield, which is my favourite map in the entire game. I ping the centre of the map, which is where I'm going to be going to try and spot out towards the bridge or the viaduct area, and also down the 9 and 0 line. I thought that everyone was going to be going to the centre, however it looks like a lot of people will be going down that 9-0 line to cover me and this Dezful with our vision. I'm going to sit a little bit further back than the Dezful, purely because larger profile we are much more likely to get spotted with the true vision system, so we're going to advance very slowly, but I still want to put out the view range with the Jaguar 1, and you can see there we get the spot on that main battle tank, the first one that came down the 0 line, and the Dezful was closer, but with the buffed view range we were able to get the spot, which would hopefully allow us to get some spotting damage. However, a lot of our tanks are still making their way into position down the 1, 2 and 3 lines. We spot this Jaguar 1 on the enemy team because he's skylining himself on a hill or on a rock, and he has camouflage that is bright blue, so not a great idea with the true vision system, which allows us to get an ATGM into him. We don't get any shots in return. We get stealth very quickly, and we're trying to line up all of these bushes in between us whilst we pop up on this hill, try and spot out anyone that might be hiding in the sort of town in the centre. Then we're going to fall back, and we're just biding our time here on Westfield, You can snowball the game very quickly, but you have to pick the right moments. You don't want to get caught out in the centre and chased because people are quicker than you in the Jaguar 1. In the Dezful, it's more of a tactic that you can use. However, we managed to fire just quick enough to get our ATGM there to take out the M3A2, and I believe it got there first than the quicker Dezful's ATGM, so that's a benefit to us. Now we can turn around with this 360-degree turret, aim well in front of that BMP3, lots of lead because of the slower shell velocity on the ATGMs, and yeah, we pick up the kill on that BMP3. Very dangerous tank. It combats the Jaguar 1 very well, doesn't do so well against the Dezful, and we also get some spotting assistance from tanks that we spotted as we were making our way back. And with the great reverse speed, I'm very confident at popping up on these ridge lines. I can either go in reverse or use this downslope to improve the pretty poor hold traverse of this vehicle, making it harder for us to get hit. Just spot that main battle tank coming after us down that slope. We didn't want to get hit. The slow-ish ATGM traverse there caught us out as we had to wait for the ATGM to catch us up. But we're going to keep moving, and we're getting some lovely assistance on these tanks, and now we're going to go after this T72BU and teach him a thing or two about not to mess with the Jaguar 1. So we're going to wait till we are behind him, and then we're going to aim our ATGM in front of him. It just catches the engine deck, nearly screwed that up. And yeah, this is the problem when you don't get that kill and maybe you low roll or you don't estimate the damage total that enemies have. You can get into pretty bad situations like we have here in the center. I'm just going to slow down, wait for the ATGM to catch up, make sure we take one of the tanks out, and we leave that situation there with only 682 hit points left. Unfortunately, that is what happens with this vehicle, but you can see in the top right corner it was kind of worth it because we've picked up another kill and also a hell of a lot of assistance here on Westfield. And now we can go in with these last 3 remaining vehicles. We're going to go as quickly as possible underneath this viaduct or the bridge, and then we are going to try and get a shot into the Leclerc, the Challenger 2, or the other vehicle, the Merkava, which is there. So we wait there to aim, try and go through the sort of side of the drive wheel of the Leclerc, but don't really know the armor profile of that French main battle tank too well, and unfortunately it gets absorbed. We are now on a one-shot for anyone, so hopefully just one more ATGM into someone, and that will be all she wrote for this game. Trying to be a little bit careful here. And now we can fire our ATGM at the Leclerc again. Kind of same location, a bit higher, and we managed to get the kill on that tank. And again, we had a pretty nice damage total and assistance damage total. MVP in that game. We finally got a victory in today's video. We get first class, and it is 1596 XP. Lovely profit with or without a premium account. 4 kills, 6.3k direct damage, 6.3k assistance, yeah, and an all-round good game. So it's a lot better than it was previously, a lot more flexible, especially in close quarters combat. A lot more capacity now for spotting for yourself and being able to defend yourself. Still pretty vulnerable against main battle tanks and ramming, and as soon as you get lit up, you are almost always going to take a lot of damage depending on where you are, of course. Compared to the Dezful, are still probably king in my opinion, but it's a lot better, a lot closer to the Dezful now, and a lot more fun if you have purchased this vehicle. So that's it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you think about these changes, whether they're too much or just right. And thank you all so much for your support. Until next time, I'll see you on the battlefield, and bye for now.